Well, good morning, everybody. It is a good morning, and I'm pleased to be here with a whole bunch of friends. Food for kids. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, does it? And my good friend Peter Milchin, the Minister of Housing and Poverty Reduction, and all other things related. It's really something. I want to bring greetings and just thank you all for the work you do. You know, a couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of being the provincial rep to the Invictus Games, and I saw a man with no legs win a cycling championship. I saw a man with one arm hit a bullseye with the arrow when it pulled back. You should have seen the neck on this guy, Peter. Hit a bullseye 3 out of 4 times. We saw some amazing things, and as amazing as that was, equally amazing was the number of volunteers who were engaged, reached out, and were supportive, and were down at the Athletes Village and all over the place with Prince Harry and some others who were helping out. And so volunteers are what do it, right? And I only go there because I know this place couldn't survive without its volunteers. And thank you all for what you do. It's incredible. I mean, there's nothing more basic than food and kids having a chance to succeed. And there was a relationship, which Peter's going to talk about. So without any further ado, let me introduce Peter Milchin, who's our minister. He's a great minister. He really is. I mean, they're not all great ministers, but he's a great one. And he gets it. He's comes from a municipal background. He was for years very active in Toronto in the housing field. He's Minister of Housing and Poverty Reduction, as I mentioned. But more important than that, he's a good guy, really good guy. And a guy gets it, Mr. Mayor, just like you get it, the investment you're making, incredible investment you're making. I'm proud of you and the council. But Peter gets it, and when he gets up in caucus to speak, I don't listen to everybody who speaks in caucus. I confess, Peter, you probably don't either, but it's we try.
No, I'm still listening.
Yeah, still listening. Well, I've been there.
Who's making sense though?
Yeah, I've been there 17 years, so I guess I figured that out already. So, but why I share that is when Peter gets up to speak, I just tune right in because I know he's going to say something profound, like he's going to do right now. So, without any further ado, I give you the Honourable Peter Milchin.
Thank you, Ted. And Ted was very kind to me when I first arrived at Queen's Park 3 years ago as a great mentor. And you are a great minister. I'm simply a minister who hasn't pissed anybody off yet. I shouldn't have said that in front of the young gentleman here, but thank you very much, Your Worship. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to be here with you this morning in the great city of Hamilton, my favorite city in Ontario, I add, even though I'm from Toronto. And before I start, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Ojibwe nations, and I wish to recognize the long history and contributions of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit here in Ontario. And I want to thank you, Lena, and everyone at Food for Kids for hosting us today and for the amazing and fantastic work that you do each and every day. This morning, as every morning, you know, when my daughter gets up, she's 8, I ask her, what do you want for breakfast today? And in our house, we have the choice of what she can pick to have breakfast that day. She often picks the wrong things and we don't let her have them. But as a parent, the thought that in far too many households, that is not a question you could ask a child is heartbreaking. And that's why what you're doing here is so incredibly important. And that's the reason why we've created the Local Poverty Reduction Fund, because there are too many situations like that. And we also know about the many fabulous organizations in Hamilton and throughout the province that are doing work that really impacts the lives of Ontarians. And all the partners that participate in these programs are critical in helping the people that we're working really hard to assist leaving the cycle of poverty, homelessness, and hunger. And together, we are making a difference in people's lives. When the Premier appointed me as the Minister of Housing, that was a role which I understand extremely well. But the poverty reduction side, even though as a city councillor for many years in Toronto, as an MPP, I understand the issues, but you don't really get the sense of the depth and complexity of it throughout the province because it's different in different communities. The situation in Toronto and Hamilton might be similar, but in many smaller communities it's very different. In the north, it's different again, and in our First Nations communities, it's significantly different again, and it requires unique and tailored solutions, which is what the Local Poverty Reduction Fund aims to support. So what we've done to try and ease these struggles, we've committed to provide $50 million over 6 years to gather your insights about what works as you deliver innovative, local, community-driven solutions that measurably improve the lives of those most affected by poverty. And the Local Poverty Reduction Fund was created to support you to measure the impact of the poverty reduction initiatives that you've designed and created. The information that you gather will build a body of knowledge through third-party evaluation of programs to show what works for Ontarians living in poverty. And measuring the impact of these programs helps all of us understand what can work. It also helps us recognize the data we need to capture and the information we need to share with researchers and others to really build the evidence base we need to find solutions. And gathering better data is the first step of our data-driven, evidence-based approach that will move the needle on outcomes to improve people's lives. And we all have a role to play in this approach. This requires all of us working together to succeed. And I'm thrilled to be in Hamilton today to share good news about the third and final round of the Local Poverty Fund. So this year, Ontario is investing over $16 million in 48 projects. And let me break that down for you. That includes over $6 million in investments to 20 employment and income security projects, $3 million to 12 projects that are homelessness related, and almost $5 million to support 14 innovative community-driven programs for Ontarians affected by food insecurity, which is why we're here today. In addition to helping measure the impact, the fund helps create local capacity to strengthen existing partnerships within the community. And this year, local partners are providing over $13 million of in-kind support to help increase the impact these 48 projects will have. And so we're at Food for Kids this morning, where I know that you're truly making a lasting difference in the lives of parents and children through providing them with good, healthy, nutritious food, together with other supports to assist them in this community. You saw a gap and brought the community together to help address the current challenges that people find themselves in. And we know that families who are food insecure have had to make tough choices, in many cases choosing to pay other bills instead of having enough food on the table. And your program helps these families and, most importantly, these kids. We're also here today to support the Hamilton-based Centre 3 for Print and Media Arts. The fund will help measure the impact of supports for youth who have completed an employment program or entered the workforce through a service provider. And that's really important because far too often in the past, government has initiated a program, provided funding, done good things, but when the program ends, the support ends. Or when the program ends, you didn't go back and measure what the outcomes were. Should you have continued the program, or should you find another solution? So that's what the Local Poverty Reduction Fund is meant to change the paradigm of how we approach funding these good works. So these two projects here in Hamilton and the other 46 will help us collect and compile the important data that provides us with those valuable lessons for partners right across the province. And collecting and sharing this information, because that's what it's about. It's not just about Queen's Park collecting it and keeping it to ourselves, but sharing it throughout the province is going to help make a real difference to those assisting the most vulnerable people in the province. So the Local Poverty Reduction Fund is part of our government's plan for opportunity and fairness throughout Ontario. And we're moving forward with an ambitious agenda on a number of fronts. Before the House now, we have a bill that, if approved, will increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We've already made tuition free for hundreds of thousands of Ontarians in post-secondary education. This September, close to 1/3 of all post-secondary students have free tuition. That is a significant impact on reducing poverty and providing opportunity for people for the future. And we've introduced OHIP Plus, which will cover all prescription medication for everyone under the age of 24. So those families who had to choose between rent and food and necessary medication for their children, well, now at least they're not going to have to make choices about the medication. That's going to be provided. And that is a very important step forward. And here in Ontario, we're also testing the basic income pilot, which is another aspect of government looking at paradigm shifts and how we deliver programs and support to Ontarians to see if there is a better way to provide living and decent income to people. So fairness and opportunity are at the heart of everything that we're doing and at the heart of the Local Poverty Reduction Fund. So I'm looking forward to gathering the information about how well you're doing. We know you're doing well, but we need to measure it, know exactly how well, so that what you're doing here in Hamilton, if we can help others in Ontario recreate your program or give you ideas from elsewhere in the province on their successes, and together we will break the cycle of poverty in this province. Thank you.
You're up. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you. Welcome back to your favorite city. You're welcome any day of the week, especially if you're making announcements with funding attached. And welcome to all of our other sponsors that are helping Food for Kids. And Lena and your team, congratulations for all the great work you do. You know, it's 12,000 families in our community are served by a food bank of some sort or another every month. Not every year, every month in our community. 4,000 kids in our communities are served by food banks. So the need is great. And as we push on things like Amazon, big deal, big entrepreneurial enterprise that we're all aspiring to get to, we have to work on that, but we also have to work on making sure that the underpinnings of our society are solid and grounded in helping people. And so Ted and Peter and the Premier get it. They understand that we have to work really hard in providing opportunity and at the same time providing support so that people can have affordable housing, that people can get an opportunity to have a good education and break that cycle of poverty and have the food they need to be able to learn properly when they're in grade school or in kindergarten. And a lot of those challenges are far too pervasive in our community. So thank you, province. I don't have much more to add than all the good things that you've said already. The basic income pilot a great opportunity for us to think about how are we going to look after folks that are going to be unemployable in the future. And when I look at artificial intelligence and the wave of potential unemployment that's coming our way, I believe we need to figure out how everyone is going to have a decent standard of living. That's something that we're going to have to figure out. This generation and maybe the next generation is going to have to work awfully hard on that. And so you're putting the right foundations in place to actually take us down that path. So much appreciated. Thank you, Ted, for all of your great work. I know that the social sphere is the space that you've had your heart in for many, many years, and you continue to pursue the kind of the right choices for our communities to make sure that we provide opportunity for those that are disadvantaged. And Peter, you know, I know that housing has been at the forefront of your work in Toronto. You know, way back in the day, we bumped into each other on many occasions, and housing is such an important issue for any community. So our $50 million housing plan, Vicki Woodcox is behind us, our interim Director of Community Services, that also has her heart in the right place in terms of moving these issues forward. So that $50 million plan sounds like a massive amount of money over 10 years. It's actually a drop in the bucket to the need that we're going to have going forward to provide affordable housing in our community. It is going to put a dent in our 6,000 person wait list, but not a really, really big one. And so there's more to do in those spaces as well. So congratulations for all the steps you're taking to put our province on the right path. And thank you, Lena, for all your great work. Many, many kids in our community are going to get benefit from the good work that you and your volunteers do here. So thank you. And
we are truly honored to be recipients, especially when we hear of the number of projects that you're sponsoring and supporting, and we are one of them, and we are certainly an esteemed company. For those that aren't aware, Food for Kids started through a personal experience where a child waited outside the locked doors of a church breakfast program one winter morning. It was one of those ice cold, freezing mornings, and this child waited outside those locked doors at 7:15. The breakfast program was not to start at 8:15, and he simply turned and he said, "I haven't had any food to eat all weekend. I'm so hungry. Can I please have something to eat?" And it's one of those life experiences that just, it took my breath away. And how could it be that a child would need to leave the comfort of his home in order to find food? So we wanted to change that. So we developed a program that would be simple and direct and cost effective and impactful. And we package healthy food because, as you say, it's not just about hunger and poverty. It's about ensuring that children are healthy, that they can grow and compete and thrive. And we started this program 5 years ago, and we had 3 schools that we piloted, 65 children, and this school year we will be in 115 schools providing food for 1,700 children. Each and every weekend these children will receive a healthy package of food. When they go home, open their backpack in a non-stigmatizing distribution process, the child looks in their backpack and it's filled with healthy food. So we are so grateful for these funds, and I can't make a lot of promises in life, but what I can promise you, Minister, is that we will work tirelessly to share information, to provide the tools that are needed in order to replicate this amazing program that truly makes a difference in the lives of children in our community. So thank you all for being here with us today. We are excited to share the progress that we'll make in the next couple of years, and we would invite you to enjoy some wonderful treats with us, and please stay and enjoy a coffee and some treats. Thank you so much for being here today.